Google Search Console, Strategies for Insights. Why Google Search Console belongs in your revenue toolkit. If we're serious about B2B pipeline, we can't treat Google Search Console, GSC, like a nice-to-have SEO report. Organic search drives about 53% of all trackable website traffic, which means a huge portion of your future opportunities are influenced by how you show up in Google and what you learn from that visibility. The most important part isn't rankings, it's the language. Roughly 71% of B2B buyers start with a generic Google search, and that usually happens long before they fill out a demo form or respond to an SDR. The queries and pages inside GSC are often the earliest voice of customer signal you can see without paying for third-party intent data. In this guide, we'll turn GSC into something your marketing and sales leaders can actually use. Separating branded versus non-branded demand, prioritizing high-intent opportunities, and feeding search insights directly into Outbound. The goal is simple. Use the same data that powers inbound to also improve targeting, messaging, and meeting volume across your outbound motion. GSC shows the buyer journey you can't see in GA4 or your CRM. Most teams measure what happens after a visitor lands on the site because GA4 and CRM reporting start there. GSC starts earlier, at the moment a prospect articulates a pain point in a search query and decides which result looks most credible. That's why GSC is so valuable for B2B teams that sell complex solutions and depend on education and trust before conversion. Search behavior also explains why clicks aren't the only metric that matters. In 2024, about 58 to 60% of Google searches in the US and EU resulted in 0 clicks, meaning users got what they needed directly on the results page or through AI summaries. Even when you don't win the click, impressions reveal what the market cares about, what it's comparing, and how your category is being framed. For revenue teams, the practical takeaway is that GSC impressions, queries, and average position are leading indicators. If your prospects are searching heavily for a specific pain, integration, compliance requirement, or pricing topic, we can treat that pattern like early demand and align content plus outbound messaging to match it before competitors do. Separate capture demand from create demand with branded versus non-branded. In November 2025, Google introduced a branded queries filter inside the search results performance report, letting you segment branded versus non-branded queries directly in GSC. For B2B, this is a big shift because it finally lets you stop mixing two different realities: people already looking for you, capture, and people searching for the problem, create. When you treat branded traffic like proof of SEO success, you can accidentally hide the real question. Are we generating net new interest or just converting existing awareness? Non-branded queries are where early-stage buyers live, and they're often the same buyers who will eventually engage with an outsourced sales team, a sales development agency, or a B2B sales agency, because they're exploring options, not brands. A clean way to align teams is to agree on what each segment is for. Branded insights drive conversion rate optimization and trust building, while non-branded insights drive content strategy, category positioning, and outbound themes. The table below is a simple framework we use to keep reporting and prioritization consistent across marketing and sales. Build a repeatable GSC workflow, from queries to opportunities. The highest leverage way to use GSC is to treat queries as live voice of customer data. Instead of only tracking up-down rankings, read the actual terms prospects use and bucket them by job to be done and stage: problem exploration, solution research, vendor comparison, and pricing implementation. This is especially important because about 60% of B2B buyers use search engines extensively before purchase, so your query set is effectively a running log of buyer intent. Next, focus on speed to impact by filtering for queries where you already rank but aren't winning enough clicks. The difference between positions is massive. The estimated CTR for the number one organic result is about 28.5%, while positions number 2 and number 3 drop to around 15.9% and 11.6%. In practice, nudging, a valuable term from the 4 to 8 range into the top 3, can change inbound volume without creating a single new page. Finally, operationalize it like a revenue process, not a marketing task. Set a cadence, weekly or bi-weekly, where marketing exports the top rising, non-branded queries and the pages gaining impressions. Then sales picks 2 to 3 angles to test in outbound messaging that week. When we run this workflow, GSC stops being a dashboard and becomes a pipeline input that informs list-building services, cold email agency messaging, and cold calling scripts. Every query in Search Console is a prospect telling you, in their own words, what they want. Your job is to answer it on page and echo it in Outbound. Turn search insights into outbound messaging that actually resonates. Modern B2B buyers don't wake up and book a meeting after one touch. Many review 11 to 12 pieces of content and use 10+ information sources before talking to sales, which is why Outbound works best when it sounds like it belongs in that research journey. If GSC shows prospects searching pricing, implementation, best, comparison, or alternative, those terms should influence your subject lines, call openers, landing page headers, and follow-up sequences. This is where we connect the dots for clients as SalesHive. We take the highest intent, non-branded query buckets and translate them into outbound themes for an SDR agency motion. That might mean building a cold calling services script around reduce no-shows, improve reply rates, or pay per appointment lead generation. Or shaping a cold email agency sequence that mirrors the exact phrasing buyers use in search when evaluating sales outsourcing or sales development. The common mistake is treating SEO language as marketing copy and outbound language as sales talk, as if buyers have two different brains. In reality, prospects reward consistency. When the words they search match the words they see on your site, then match the words your SDRs use in emails and calls, the outreach feels specific instead of spammy. And that's how an outbound sales agency motion benefits from inbound intelligence. Avoid the GSC mistakes that quietly kill pipeline. One of the most expensive mistakes is chasing brand new keywords while ignoring the revenue pages that aren't properly indexed. If your pricing, demo, or core solution pages have indexing issues, you can lose demand that already exists, especially when prospects are searching vendor and comparison terms. Use the page indexing report to keep revenue-critical URLs healthy and visible. Then treat technical fixes as pipeline protection, not SEO hygiene. Another common error is optimizing only for clicks and ignoring impressions because of the zero-click reality. When a query generates high impressions but low clicks, that's often a sign your title, meta, doesn't match intent, your snippet lacks credibility, or the SERP is answering the question without a click. Instead of writing it off, use that signal to improve your offer framing and to arm your cold callers with language that reflects what the market is actively thinking about, even if Google doesn't hand you the click. Finally, teams often fail to connect GSC to outcomes. GSC tells you what people searched and what they clicked. GA4 tells you what they did on site. Your CRM tells you which accounts became SQLs and customers. When we combine these in a shared Looker Studio view, the conversation shifts from traffic went up to these non-branded themes created meetings, which is the only narrative that matters in a revenue meeting. Optimization priorities. Win more clicks before you create more content. If you want fast results, start with the already closed keywords, terms where you rank between positions 4 and 15 and have meaningful impressions. These are typically faster to move than net new targets, and they're often tied to pages Google already trusts. In practical terms, you can refresh the page to better match intent, add internal links from relevant articles, and rewrite titles, meta, to make the result more compelling for a buyer who is comparison shopping. We also recommend treating CTR like a growth lever, not a vanity metric. Even a modest improvement can matter when impressions are high, especially for commercial intent queries tied to software, platform, services, agency, or pricing. When your average position is stable but CTR is weak, you don't need a ranking miracle, you need a better promise, clearer differentiation, and stronger trust signals in the snippet and above the fold. Use the benchmark table below to decide what to do next based on where you sit today. This keeps teams from wasting time. The action for a position 12 keyword should be fundamentally different than the action for a position 2 keyword with poor CTR. Next steps. Make GSC a weekly GTM habit, not a quarterly SEO review. The fastest way to make GSC pay off is to socialize it with sales. A short weekly digest, top rising queries, pages gaining impressions, terms losing traction, and any branded versus non-branded shifts gives your team fresh talking points grounded in real buyer language. It also creates a feedback loop where SDRs report which phrases resonate live, and marketing uses that input to refine content and on-page messaging. The upside can be significant. Businesses that actively optimize based on Search Console performance data have reported 20 to 35% organic traffic growth in as little as 3 to 6 months, and case studies show even larger outcomes in the right situation. One construction company reported a 250% increase in organic clicks and a 722% jump in impressions in 6 months after using GSC to guide content and technical improvements. The important point isn't the exact number, it's that consistent iteration compounds. If you want to connect SEO insights directly to meetings, treat GSC as the front-end signal for your full go-to-market system. Pair it with GA4 and CRM outcomes. Use non-branded query themes to guide outbound targeting, and let your outreach, whether it's B2B cold calling, telemarketing, LinkedIn outreach services, or a fully outsourced sales team, mirror what buyers are already telling you through search. That's how we turn visibility into conversations, and conversations into revenue.